Hey, in today's video, we want to get into some of the negative feedback we receive from buyers regarding our properties we've been selling this year. So without further ado, here are the top 13 home buyer complaints we've received in 2025 thus far. Let's get into it. So the number one complaint we've been receiving in terms of feedback for properties we're selling is location, believe it or not. And there's nothing you can do about location. But we will hear things, or the buyers will come back and say, oh, well, we noticed that the neighbors or their property's elevated and they can look down on us and we're sacrificing privacy, or this home is too close to the neighborhood pool and we're going to hear noise from the pool, or there's a major thoroughfare and we hear traffic noise while we were touring the home. And guess what? There's nothing you can do about that. So a pro tip is always choose location over upgrades, because you can always come back and upgrade later, right? But in terms of the complaints we're hearing, as a seller, your workarounds are very limited. They're landscape oriented. Essentially, you could put in trees, which mitigates the noise and gives you some privacy. Or maybe you could consider something like a fountain, and the gurgling noise of the water in the fountain will mitigate some of the noise in the background. But that's really it. And if you're a seller, my recommendation would be not to put your money into that if you want to sell your home. Let a realtor such as myself or Val say that back to the buyer's agent. When they call and they give us some of the complaints, I'll remind them, hey, tell the buyers they could put in a fountain, they could put in trees or something, but we're not going to negotiate that in terms of price. The second complaint we are hearing from buyers on properties we're selling is they don't like the floor plan, the layout of the house. Okay, they'll say things like, we don't like the master on the main, or there are too many levels, or the house doesn't have an open concept. And so as a buyer, just keep in mind that you can always create a master bedroom on the second floor if that's where you want the master. That's going to be somewhat expensive, but you can negotiate that on the back end of the property with a strong offer. And as far as a non-open concept, you can knock out some non-load-bearing walls, and that's relatively inexpensive. As a seller, I wouldn't recommend changing the master on the main and putting the money into that, but I would recommend knocking out a few non-load-bearing walls. It brightens the home. It gives it that open concept, which is still very popular. It has been for 3 decades now. It brightens the home and makes it feel like it's a larger property than it actually is on the inside. It makes it look like it adds to square footage. A third complaint in terms of feedback that we're hearing from buyers is there are too many flooring choices in the home. And by that, what I mean is perhaps there's hardwood in one part of the home, carpeting in another, and maybe luxury tile in yet another part of the home. And so as a seller, always ensure that you have no more than 2 flooring choices in your home. And a pro tip, make sure one of those 2 is hardwood flooring. And in fact, if you can afford it, always put hardwood floors throughout. Hardwood flooring always ensures that you get a top-notch offer, and it's always worth the investment. A fourth complaint that we're hearing from home buyers on our properties is they don't like the paint colors. Now, this is something when I do a walkthrough with a home before I decide to sell the home, I inform the sellers that you need to tone down any crazy rooms you have with crazy colors. You need to paint in neutral colors or white. I recommend Benjamin Moore White Dove. That's great. And look, studies have shown time and again that homes in neutral colors sell for more, and they hold the buyer's attention throughout the negotiation and the back and forth offer process. So this is something I do recommend that if you're a seller, you put your money into. You're going to be thankful that you did. And another pro tip is a strong first impression equals a strong offer. So the fifth complaint we receive from buyers is there's too much deferred maintenance on the property. And buyers, when they tour a property, they're thinking, you're asking for a premium on this property and you have all this deferred maintenance, and they're right. So if the HVAC system is old, if the warranty on the home hot water heater is almost up, if there's some rough patches on the roof, we need to take care of those. And it could be simple things as well, not some of those big ticket items, but maybe the windows are dirty. So I always recommend the sellers, you put your money into this early on and fix it and have the receipts ready, because sellers will tell me, you know what, I'm going to wait and negotiate this on the back end. And that's a big no-no. Here's a pro tip. Buyers will always overestimate the cost of repairs. And so it makes the negotiation process drag on when we all want to close and get on with our lives. So put the money into it up front if you're a seller. And remember the market you're in, it's a buyer's market. That means there are more homes for sale than there are buyers. So buyers kind of have the leverage early on, and buyers have, they have options. So as a seller, you want to make yourself the obvious choice and outcompete the other houses in the area, because that's your competition. The other houses in the area that are also for sale, you want to hope they make this mistake. So a buyer is going to think, you know what, I'll just go with this home. They already put the money into it. They have the receipts, and that puts us in a good negotiating spot, especially when they kind of started out the process with the advantage with it being a buyer's market. Hey guys, let me take this time just to mention something really important to Valentine and I. We are trying to get 1,000 subscribers by year's end. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. So click the like button, smash the bell, and all that good stuff. And listen, if we can get 1,000 subscribers by year's end, we won't mention it again. We won't bring it up until sometime next year. But I digress. So the number 6 complaint we're hearing in terms of feedback from buyers is the appliances are old and outdated. And look, this is a cheaply solved issue. So I'll always tell sellers, we want to get ahead of this. The buyers come through and they see an icky oven or a rusty dishwasher, or maybe the appliances just lack today's bells and whistles. This is easy. This is simple. It's pretty cheap. We can get good appliances and we can have the receipts on that, and people can come through and it makes the home pop. So sometimes sellers will want to negotiate this on the back end. And this is another one of those no-nos. Pro tip, buyers will always overestimate the cost and hassle of upgrading the appliances for themselves. Kitchens are important. People pretty much live there, right? So look, just the other day, I had a lady client of mine. She said, if I take the old oven out, the new one won't fit in. And I said, exactly. So the number 7 feedback we're receiving from buyers on our properties is the house is outdated in total. The upgrades are old. And look, let's face it, that happens, right? But we need to know in your area what upgrades are trending and what is not. And your realtor should be able to help you with that. Remember, the goal is to upgrade affordably, but we want to keep in mind that it's a buyer's market. We're trying to attract buyers. The more buyers, the more offers we have, the closer we get to maximizing the equity in your home. And so I know that a lot of times sellers will say to me, oh, well, look, we only need one buyer. We need that one buyer. But if that buyer takes their time getting to the home, you increase your days on market. And so people begin to think, what's wrong with the property? Somebody should have bought this property by now. I bet there's something wrong with it. And so the strength of your offers begins to go down. We don't want to affect that, especially in this market. It's a buyer's market. Buyers kind of have the advantage. So keep that in mind. So the number 8 complaint in terms of feedback we're getting from buyers on our properties is the yard is too small vis-a-vis the photos. We get this often. This happens. It is kind of hard to tell how, large the yard is until they come by and visit. And again, there's no remedy for this. The workaround is you want to maximize curb appeal. So you want to declutter the backyard, clean it up, plant some flowers, maybe put line flower beds with brick, have some things like that in place, and just make the backyard pop. Curb appeal goes a long way. A little bit of affordable landscaping goes a long way. So the number 9th complaint we're getting in terms of feedback from buyers on our properties is the house is too small and it's dark vis-a-vis the photos. And look, this gets back to something I alluded to earlier. Number 1, we want to paint the house in neutral colors or white. I like Benjamin Moore White Dove. That's a pro tip. That works. And so the lighter colors increases the light and brightens the home and maximizes the space. And number 2, we want to declutter, right? So we want to take about 70% of the things down, out of the home, off the wall, and make the home look as large and spacious and as clean as possible. So number 10 on the list of negative feedback we're getting back from buyers is the HOA fees are too high. Shocker, right? Look, there's no way around that. There's nothing we can do. I always tell sellers to create a feature list where you just list the amenities that you get for the HOA that you're paying. In terms of the buyers, remember that when you finance a home, the lender also considers that HOA fee. So you need to consider that. So when you get your buyer's agent, let them know your budget and tell them whether you want a swim tennis community or not. And they can help you crunch some numbers so that you'll have an idea of whether that HOA fee is going to make it difficult to do financing once you picked out the house and you're done, finished the negotiations and whatnot. So the 11th most common complaint we're receiving from buyers for our properties is the homeowner's insurance is too high. And look, there's nothing you can do about that. That's predicated on the area that you live in. The actuaries for the insurance companies crunch these numbers and come up with these things. Look, Valentine and I, we work with several insurance agents, so we're able to get quotes and get ahead of this problem. So if a buyer's agent calls us and says the buyer really likes the property, they want to make an offer, but they're hesitant about the homeowner's insurance, we can give them some quotes and give that to the buyer's agent so the buyer's agent can sit down with the buyer and huddle up and have a meeting and we can give them some quotes and get ahead of that problem. But that's really all we can do in that situation. Number 12 on the list of buyer complaints we're receiving these days is pet hair, pet dandruff, pet odor. Look, this is an easily solved problem. Some of the remedies and workarounds are you can have the neighbors or friends or family keep the pets throughout the day just to mitigate the smell and the hair, or maybe consider a dog sitter or doggy daycare. And you can also get a HEPA filter that you can run during the day while you're at work. And just to keep the place smelling clean. Look, if people have pet allergies, they're just going to walk. And the more buyers we have that are making offers on your home, that bumps up the price and maximizes the equity in your home. And that's the goal. So remember, it's a buyer's market. They have the advantage. We don't want to give them any reason to not consider the property. Okay, we made it to the end. Last but not least, the number 13th most cited complaint that we're receiving from buyers is, what about new home construction? We're here in the North Atlanta area, and there's a lot of new construction going on. And so buyers will complain and say, well, the new construction is offering this incentive or this deal, and what can you do? And I always tell the sellers, we can't compete with that. When there's a builder and they have 100, 200 plus development, they're going to be able to offer a lot more incentives and everything's new and shiny. And you're on a budget and fixing up your home as the seller, and you can only put so much money into your home. But what you can do is, number one, most importantly, listen to your realtor and price competitively so that you are the obvious choice. Number two, write down things that you like. I always ask clients, write down things that you like about your home. And your realtor will help you find amenities and shopping and schools and things like that so you can maximize everything that makes the home what it is in terms of location and what is around it. And then also, when I get this call, I will explain to the buyer agent the ups and downside of new construction. Believe it or not, there are some downsides. So I can plant that seed with the buyer's agent. Hopefully they pass that on to the buyer. So look, I'm Don of Don and Valentine, your Atlanta Metro Realtors. We really appreciate you turning to this video today. Remember that we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.